Good morning and welcome to my Geekdom. I'm Brianna and I'm going to do a quick recap slash reaction to the 911 Season 9 premiere, Eat the Rich. I have been a fan of the show since the pilot episode, never missing an episode or a season, so I am very excited to start this new thing with you and see how things go. So we open up with two astronauts on the International Space Station when they are hit by debris, and this is the introduction showing us that the opening arc of this season is going to be this upcoming space tragedy that we saw in the teaser trailers. Then it flashes back to 2 weeks ago, which is when the actual episode begins, and it's a dedication ceremony for Bobby. They are renaming the 118 fire station as the Bobby Nash Memorial Fire Station, with Chimney only as the interim chief or the interim captain. So he hasn't, as we learn later on, actually taken the test to become the captain because he's still feeling the guilt over Bobby's death from season 8. The entire cast is there, including Sue Blevins. Sadly, we are missing Josh and Linda, but I'm assuming that's because somebody has to be actually taking the 911 calls. So somebody had to be there so everyone else could be at the dedication ceremony. It also includes May and Henry, which makes sense as his stepkids. But weirdly, in that moment, Athena is missing and we don't know quite why yet. So they do a quick recap letting everybody know, hey, they're setting up that with Chimney as interim captain, Eddie is partnered with Hen on the ambulance as the paramedics, and naturally Buck is more than a little bit jealous, and poor Ravi still has to put up with this. Ravi, I love you so much. You don't deserve what Buck puts you through as a partner. And honestly, for your sanity, I would transfer. Take the night shift, do whatever you need to do. Because as much as I love Buck and I love Ravi, he's a great addition to the cast, and we'll be able, I'm sure, to see more of him throughout this season. Buck is just, he's so dramatic. He needs help, and Ravi doesn't deserve that. Then it switches over to Athena, and we learn that she's been going undercover. This is actually her fourth undercover case in the past 6 months since the loss of her husband Bobby, and she is clearly throwing herself into work to avoid dealing with the emotions and the loss. She has been working this guy over, so it seems like she's on a date, which anybody who's seen the show knows that would be fucking ridiculous, so none of us really fell for it. With Captain Raynard in the fridge, she and another detective are recording everything as they're building this case against, I believe the character's name was Jonathan. And then the feds bust in, and he straight up, if you've watched any law enforcement show, any procedural, you know that it's BS to sell out an undercover agent. And that's what this Fed does. He straight up calls Athena, hey, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but we've got a warrant for this guy. We're taking him in. Naturally, Athena does what Athena does, and she tells him, hey, if you're going to disrespect me, or you better not be disrespecting me, you're going to call me Sergeant Athena Grant if you're going to come in and ruin this case that I've been working on. So she is already filled with anger from the disrespect and the fact that she's been putting months into this case, and the feds just rolled in and took it from her. We're seeing this guy again. there's no way we are not seeing him again. It's later on they send a basket of apology muffins to the police station to Captain Raynard, and Athena refers to him as the Muffin Man. This dude is definitely showing up, and my prediction for the rest of the season is that he's going to try to convince Athena to become a Fed and to focus on undercover work instead of the street patrol that she's made it very clear throughout the entire series she doesn't want to give up until she absolutely has to. Both these characters, yeah, they're gonna show up again. Well, maybe not the guy that I think his name was Jonathan, the one she was on the date with, but the Fed, absolutely up. It switches over to the next scene where we see protesters outside of a building. I full on thought that those signs said Trump, and I was like, damn, 911 is saying the quiet part out loud. But no, they said Trip Hauser. Mark Consuelos is guest starring in this arc as billionaire Mark Hauser, who's being protested for multiple things, including one of the plants that they have built has endangered a bug species, so he's got protesters there. Everything you could hate a billionaire for, this guy is doing, and 911, the writers aren't holding back on highlighting that. If you recognize Dawn, the PR girl, as they, like, I love how they set that up to really show that Trip Hauser is a misogynist. Like, he's not even respecting that she is a crisis manager that was hired and she's there to help him better his image. So, if you recognized her, the actress's name is Brianna Venskis. I apologize if I screwed up your name. I am a fan, and I love her from her time as Agent Piper on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in those last few seasons. So if you are an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fan, that is why you know the PR girl. In the process, Trip is on a canoe. He's in the ocean because he's not giving up his canoe time to be at this meeting to go over what he's done, how they can help him, all the bad publicity that he's dealing with, and in the middle of being just a douche and talking about how fantastic and great he is, how much better and how smart he is, a humpback whale breaches and swallows him and the canoe whole. Now, humpbacks eat krill, they don't eat people, so he is stuck inside the mouth of this whale, and they call 911. Naturally, my girl Maddie answers the phone, and they're able to track the whale because of the smartwatch on his wrist and how he was already broadcasting. So they have eyes and ears on him inside of the whale. There is nothing that they can currently do until that whale breaches again. Side bit, when they're talking of the things he's done, he sent 4 Real Housewives, which I'm assuming they mean Real Housewives as in Orange County, Miami, all of that, and a Miss Universe to space, and he's getting backlash for it. Again, this is a direct comment on Elon sending what's their names? Freaking Gail and dang. Well, see, that's how much I cared. How much it was a waste of money. I can't even remember. Katy Perry. There we go. And 2 others. So it's very direct, and I'm proud of 911 for not playing there, because they're also keeping, the writers and the team are keeping their personal feelings out of it while still addressing something that we very clearly have seen in real media. So I like to think that they are protesting Musk, but that's just my personal opinion. In no way has that been said by anyone. I haven't read it anywhere. I haven't seen that at all. It is just my opinion. So the 118 gets dispatched. as the paramedic team to help when Trip gets eventually spit up by this whale, because hopefully he doesn't die first. On the ride to, they end up on a bridge, but on the ride over there, they're all talking as they do, trying to figure out and learn what's going on, and it turns out that Hen and Eddie have been hanging out, and they went to see an IMAX documentary on humpback whales. Fun detail that it was narrated by Ewan McGregor. I thought that was hilarious. So, this is Buck's second time being jealous. I get what they're doing, establishing how Eddie and Hen have become close, as one does with the partner, because they are riding in the ambulance together all of the time instead of Eddie being on the rig with Buck. So even though Eddie is back from Texas and he's rejoined the 118, their work relationship has shifted. I have two problems with how Buck is in this instance. The first one is that Buck is our weird facts guy. After he got struck by lightning, after the zoo animals escaped, it's very clearly stated that he started taking Eddie's son to the zoo. Like, he should have all of these facts. We are used to Buck having these facts. So it's strange that Eddie and Hen do, and Chimney as well, because it turns out he's seen this documentary as well, when we're so used to the weird things being known by Buck. It's not the end of the world. It's the setup for how close Eddie and Hen have become. It's just a very personal, like, small thing I have an issue with. My second issue with this being the second time that we're getting Buck's jealousy about Eddie and Hen is it's starting to become toxic. It's probably been toxic for a while, his relationship to Eddie, how dependent he is on Eddie. But I had hoped after last season, after he hooked up with Tommy and Tommy called Buck out on how he believes Buck has feelings for Eddie, even though Eddie is straight, that this is something that Buck would have addressed with his therapist, because we know that he has been continually going to therapy and trying to improve and be better and deal with his childhood issues and deal with his traumas and grow as a person. So the fact that we're still here and it's so verbal and visible, I just want a little more growth there. I want Buck to have a good, healthy relationship. I want him to move on. I want him to address and speak with Eddie about what these feelings are. And I ship Buddy. I do. But it's been so long. And for Eddie to either realize that he is part of the rainbow alphabet or not, like, he has to do it quickly. And if he never does, if they remain and stay constant with Eddie being straight and absolutely nothing else, then this is just a bad look for Buck. And for how much we love our baby Buck, it doesn't look good, and it makes his character regress instead of moving forward, which is what happened when he came to the realization of being bisexual. Like, we saw growth. We saw him in this relationship with Tommy. Whether you liked it or not, that is not the point. The point is that he was growing. Like, the entire last season, him letting Eddie go, knowing why it was important, like, that's all part of Buck growing. But now that Eddie's back, are we going to have to watch Buck regress? Because I don't want to. This is season 9. We shouldn't be moving backwards. We shouldn't be seeing Buck in another unhealthy relationship. We should see something flowering and moving forward and see his independence or see his honesty and seeing him address what he actually feels towards Eddie. I'm just tired of it. Okay, so team gets there. They start discussing what they're gonna do as the whale hasn't breached yet. This is when we learn that Chimney's also seen this documentary, and oh no, what am I talking about? No, because there's a great Star Trek reference. What the hell, Brianna? No, so he's saying that humpback whales hear at a certain frequency and that's how they communicate. So he comes up in a brilliant Bobby-esque plan to have the whale breach by turning on the sirens and directing the sound underwater. And it works, and it's great. And we get the Star Trek references to Star Trek 4. So that was really cool seeing Chimney step up the way that they stuck. Like, you want to talk about sticking the landing with character growth from season 1 to season 9, where we see Chimney as happily married with all the struggles he and Maddie have gone through, father of 2, and now he's facing this struggle and this guilt of the loss of Bobby and what that means for him as a person and a friend who lost someone they loved, who believed in him, and what it means for him career-wise is really interesting. I'm so excited that it seems like they're really going to dig into that part as well. So the whale breaches, it spits out Trip, and Eddie jumps into the water totally unprovoked. He is not giving direction to do so. Chimney says, I didn't tell him to do that. Buck says, I wanted to do that, which is something that we're used to. That is Buck's character. It is a positive because Buck didn't just jump in the water like he would have done back through seasons, like, honestly, 1 through 7. He would have just jumped in, no questions asked, before being told and then got scolded by Bobby. But it is a reflection of his growth as a character that he was waiting to be told and given the instructions by his boss. It is a regression on Eddie's part. Actually, it's not even so much a regression. Eddie jumping in unprovoked is Eddie. He went to Texas to get his son back. He's returned. When he got back, the first thing he does during that building collapse, and he says it in the finale, is, I just thought, what would Bobby have Buck do? Like, he had clearly stated, this is a dangerous, stupid, insane thing that Buck and Bobby would come up with together. And then we open up with this season, and Eddie is straight up doing another insane thing, but completely unprovoked, not being told to or instructed to by his boss. This is not the responsible Eddie that we know. This is the illegal ring fights Eddie, when he's not dealing with something. So this is an indicator that Eddie has something else he's dealing with, and they haven't addressed it yet. Now, after they pull him out, Hen is the one who revives Trip, and they make it very clear all he sees is Hen and nobody else. Our next scene brings us to Athena. That would be when Athena is talking to Captain Reynard about going undercover, and she ends up back in the new house. This is a holdover for me from season 8. So after Bobby and Athena's house got burnt down at the end of season 7, and season 8 is them rebuilding the house and coming up with the new plans, I didn't like how it looked. It was all cement and stainless steel. There was nothing homey about it, which is what the original house was, and a huge part they talk about how the kids grew up there. It was her and her first husband, they built a family there. Then after they split and Bobby came in, their family remained strong and connected. Like, that's always been a focus, and the house was a big part of that. So burning down the house and starting over, Athena and Bobby had talked about how this was going to be their gateway into aging, and they wanted somewhere where they could be comfortable. It kind of makes sense that a firefighter and a police officer who just had their house burnt down by a criminal would go for the cement. But again, to me, it's just not as homey. And I was wondering, was this a set design? Was this a knowledgeable choice with the idea that Bobby was going to die, and they wanted it to be a cold place instead of a warm one? Some place where we didn't want to be, when throughout the other 7 episodes, since the house was gone in the 8th episode, that's where the parties are. That's where celebrations are. We watched their wedding. We watched them celebrate Buck coming back to duty, and then passing out again from his blood clot. So much has happened in that house, good and bad, but it was home, and now she is alone in this cement building. We know that May has been living on her own for a while she's at college. She's had her own apartment, and we learn that Henry has moved in with her because he didn't, as he says in the beginning at Bobby's ceremony, he didn't want to change schools in his senior year, so Athena allows him to move in with May. I mean, it seems like a good idea, but in a few moments, when we learn that Athena sees him at a coffee shop instead of in school, and we learn that he's dropped out of school to get a job, Athena had no idea, then being a responsible and open parent, letting your child make this choice, this is an indicator of, since the loss of Bobby, how detached she has been from her children in the past 6 months. This then leads over to a bus crash. So we see it opens up with the bus driver being annoyed by children, makes a statement about how he wishes they would all die. Then the kids pass out, and the bus driver becomes woozy and crashes the bus. Chimney and Buck first, Chimney second, they figure out what knocked everyone out, which is a leak of antifreeze. Because the kids are smaller, it affects them first, and made the driver look like he was a drunk driver. So that's when Chimney makes the call to check the glucose, and they discover that the kids have all gone into organ failure. This is another great example of how well Chimney is doing in his job. The way that he was commanding the main cast, and the way that, he actually named background firefighters. I honestly can't recall any other firefighter in the background getting a name before. So he's, that is a shift. As loving and as much as a family as Bobby made, they've never named background characters that I can think of. So that's why it stuck out when Chimney did it. What I question is the idea of using alcohol to bring up the glucose levels and save these children and save this bus driver. The reason why I question it, not because it's not genius, because it is a great idea, it's because in an episode where we are adjusting to a new normal without Bobby's original storyline and how Athena chose to return his body and where to bury him was that he was an alcoholic who his apartment burnt down because he was drunk and he was high, and he started a fire that killed his first wife and 2 children. I don't think in an episode that opens with dedicating the firehouse to Bobby and all he's accomplished and how he grew and changed since moving and joining the 118, solving an issue with alcohol was a good choice. It just seems a little unbalanced and a little unseemly, honestly, for lack of a better word. Again, this is my personal opinion. It is a cool solution. It's a little funny. Like, it hits all the marks for being 911 and really highlighting Chimney's success and the intelligence of Hen and Eddie and Buck for figuring out what happened. But I don't like that contradiction when so much of this episode is spent talking about the loss of Bobby. After they've taken the kids to the hospital, Hen gets a call from the chief of the LAFD for a meeting with Trip. He has donated He's donated $5 million to the LAFD, and he wants to send Hen to space. Now, John and the other guy whose name I can't recall, I didn't write it down because I don't know him the way I know the actress from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so he wasn't as important to me. They are being straight up, this is a PR stunt. He needs to look better, but I think that Trip does genuinely want to, in his own self-centered, egotistical, narcissistic way, thank Hen by sending her to space. When Hen gets home, she immediately goes to Karen. We all know this has been Karen's dream to be an astronaut, and Tracy Thoms does such an amazing job of moving from emotion to emotion, from excitement, oh my god, I get to go to space with my wife. Well, starts off with, wow, that's exciting, you get to go to space. I'm jealous you get to go to space. Oh, there's a +1, I get to go to space? My dream gets to come true? This is, fuck, I can't go to space. My company is suing his company for infringement, and there's no way I can go to space. You absolutely have to go to space. Don't pass up this opportunity. Just because I can't go, I want you to go do this thing. I want you to go enjoy yourself. Yeah, take one of the guys. You have people who love you who will absolutely go to space with you. No, I'm not solving your problem and telling you who to go to space with. I don't get to go to space. I'm gonna go to bed. You're gonna deal with all that. Love it. Way to go, Karen. Tracy Thoms, just absolutely. I wish we got to see more of her all of the time. I always want more Tracy Thoms. The end. Period. Full stop. Now, we flip over to Athena. She's got Henry at the house. She's called May, and she's doing what parents do. She's getting mad at the oldest child for something the youngest did. I've been through this as the youngest. The first time I got a tattoo, my dad got mad at my brother for not being able to control me as the little sister. Bullshit. It's stupid. Older siblings are not responsible for what younger siblings do. That's dumb. May had no idea. It's very well established in this moment. May had no idea that Henry has dropped out of school because she's going to school too. She's got a life and she's there and she talks with her brother and they communicate. But if somebody wants to hide something, they're gonna hide it. And just the way that she delivers, is that why there's always pastries at home now? It's great. I freaking loved it. So, this sets off Henry and May addressing their mother and telling her, since Bobby has died, you've been gone. She hasn't been there, and I love he calls her Aunt Karen, invites you to dinner, you don't show, video breakfast with Dad, they have pancakes every Saturday morning, again enforcing how strong this family unit has been even since the divorce and the dad coming out as gay at the very beginning. That is a solid family unit. They have always been together. And then my favorite one, Bachelor with Buck on Mondays. Athena, like, the idea that they watch The Bachelor with Buck, like, they're breaking down these things that this cast, that this family of characters, we've watched them for 8 seasons. They have a life and they have things they do together. We know how much Buck loves children. So the idea that you have a 17-year-old who's mad because mom's not there to watch The Bachelor with them, it's great. I loved it. May's face, her anger when she goes off and says, when they lost Bobby, they lost her too. Just, I loved this scene. Fantastic. Watching, I know they changed actors for Henry, but watching May grow from season 1 as an actor to where she is now. So as an actor, as a character, has just been fantastic. I am so excited that both of these characters are back as regulars. I really can't wait to see what they're doing and how those characters will fit into this season. Henry storms out, May follows, and Athena is left in that room to sit and think about what she's done, or more specifically, what she hasn't done and what she's lost beyond just her husband. So now we're back at the fire station. The guys have learned that that Hen has gotten this invitation to go to space, and Eddie jumps out, and there's a jump scare of him dressed as an alien. He jumps out of the ambulance, and Hen, why I keep saying Athena? Hen shares about how she gets to take someone with them. So they immediately start arguing. And this will take us into the next call, to a woman named Gina. There's a weird smell has been reported coming from her apartment. Athena and the landlord enter and find what they believe to be a dead body. And as Athena is calling it in, this very gross, disgusting, like, she looks like she's decaying. This is amongst, not the worst, but amongst the worst things that I have seen on this show, and the makeup team should be incredibly proud of themselves. So, second jump scare, she comes back to life, and the 118 shows up. They discover that she has a cut on her hand from opening a soup can that she just didn't deal with. She sat on a chair and she let an infection brew and she is rotting from the inside out. As they're treating her, the background volume kind of goes out. Athena picks up a picture that has been flattened of Gina and her husband, and they do flashbacks of this woman's life from the time that she and her partner had moved into this apartment, their friends, the life they lived together. She becomes pregnant. Then you see that they return from the hospital with no baby, and she falls into a depression. Her husband or partner, it's not established, can't get through to her. And then what he leaves, and she sits down and never gets up again. The entire time, Mad World is playing in the background, and it is beautiful. This is one of those very well done moments that 911 is kind of at its best for, when they are using characters, when they're using the calls that they're on to help characters really reflect on what they have going on in their personal lives. So this is going to leave Athena really thinking about, especially after May and Henry addressing her and the things she's not doing. So Now we're flipping back to the firehouse. Eddie is stalking the ambulance. Buck shows up with lattes for Hen. Chimney shows up with an Employee of the Month certificate and a $50 gift card. They've never done this. This is natural. This is what we're used to at the firehouse. Big, extravagant, look at me things as they argue like loving children, siblings, the family that they are. And Hen is not having any of it. She is done. She doesn't want to play. Of what is different about this scene is Buck is not as intense. Eddie is. Eddie is hardcore about wanting to go to space, and Chimney pulls the I'm her best friend, we were partners, our friendship trumps your friendship, and Eddie's like, does it? So that's different. We're not used to seeing those two at odds to each other. Whatever they're establishing for Eddie in this season, I don't know. This is a more aggressive Eddie. Normally he's a lot more passive. He hides his issues, which he is doing here. He's hiding something. And in season opening, when obviously the loss of Bobby is something that needs to be addressed the most, and the characters most directly affected, in this case Athena and the kids, and Chimney and his guilt, like, it makes sense that they're not addressing what's going on with Eddie, and I'm sure it's going to get revealed sooner rather than later, but there's something there. We're not used to this guy. This is those decisions he made when he started those illegal fights. Yeah, we don't know what's going on. So they start arguing. Chimney says in the argument, Chimney calls out Eddie he says, stupid and reckless like Buck, and says that he should actually write Eddie up. That's not true. He should. It was stupid and reckless, and it is something we expect from Buck. But like I said earlier, this is season 1 through 6 Buck, not the Buck that we're at now. The Buck who has learned to stop and think things through and wait for an order and then gladly do the reckless, stupid thing. Hen storms off. Everybody else does as well, except Buck, who's just standing there, and he looks sad. We all know baby Buck's face. We know what it looks like when he's in his feels. We're flipping back now to the hospital. Athena's going to check on Gina, and she's speaking with the doctor, and the doctor says, did our team reach out? Because we can't find anyone in this woman's life. It is a short scene, but again, it is highlighting to Athena her similarities to Gina. And now, as I'm saying it out loud over and over again, Athena, Gina, they're not being subtle at all, but we don't watch 911 for subtlety. That is not what this show is about at all. So, let's see here. Now, after, it's again a very short scene, so it flips to Chimney knocking on Eddie's door, and he has apology beers. Eddie invites him in, and they're both saying, he goes, shouldn't we be trying to apologize to Hen? Chimney says he did, but she didn't answer. Eddie says the same. So they're apologizing to each other for their childishness. Eddie says how he lets Chimney know how happy everybody is with Chimney in charge. And why hasn't Chimney taken the test to become captain? Because it's an obvious choice. Everything we're seeing in this first episode is highlighting how great Chimney is at this job. How much he has grown from the guy in the first season who was just dating randos and who was a little bit scared because of the losses that he had, losing his brother, like, and then again almost losing his other brother later on. Chimney is so much stronger now than he has ever been. And his relationship with Maddie and his children, I think, are all such great examples of that. But he's still feeling that guilt. He got to live, Bobby didn't. It sucks. It's sad. It makes me want to cry right now. But Bobby made that choice. And the thing about Bobby making that choice is Chimney, Athena, and every other character has to live with it. So we are nearing the end of the episode. And we see Buck is talking about how he doesn't actually want to go to space. The camera's focused in just on him. He doesn't want to go to space. We learn he doesn't like to fly, even just across country, which makes a lot of sense since we know in his story from Buck Begins that, and from Maddie's story, that Buck had her Jeep and traveled across the country. He could even travel down to Mexico like he did to become a bartender. So, yeah, at no point has Buck ever been on a plane. I kind of assume that in 911 Lone Star, when he and Eddie did the crossover to get to Texas, that they had to take a flight for speed because of the wildfires. But it's not actually stated. No, they took the rig because they needed more trucks. So yeah, at no point in this show has Buck ever been, or have they ever indicated that he's been on a plane. That's actually really funny. Then you hear Maddie's voice is a little muffled and distant, that's enough and it's time for him to go to bed. She, as it turns out, is talking about her son, the new baby Han. Buck is using baby Han as his new little 6-month-old nephew as his therapist. Buck, my man, I love you. We know you love kids. Don't do this to a child. Ever, even though he's just a baby. You are paying a professional for therapy. Speak to them. But it's cute and it's enduring and it's letting us know where Buck is emotionally and how much he still misses Bobby. Obviously. That was his father. Again, not his genetic father, but we all know that was his father. And now he is dealing with that loss. He and Athena don't interact at all during this episode. I'm guessing that in the next episode they are going straight up into space, and those next two will be kind of dealing with the fallout of whatever goes on at the International Space Station and all of the debris that causes the crash, and for everything coming down. I want to see what is going on with Athena and Buck and how those two, as the ones who have the biggest effect of losing Bobby, how they are connecting now, because I'm guessing that a lot of their character growth could come from each other this season. A lot of their healing is going to come from there. Again, we do a quick flip and Hen is at Athena's house. This is the first indicator that we're getting of Athena actually talking to someone. I'm sure she's spoken on the phone, but it seems like she hasn't really spent any time with anybody else. And she is discussing with Hen Gina and how there was nobody there for Gina. She doesn't have anyone, and Athena doesn't want to go down that road. She doesn't want to stop living her life. She doesn't want to shut people out. But the thing that's hurting her isn't just losing Bobby, but oh my god, this is how emotionally invested I am in this show. Interacting with everybody who was a part of Bobby's life, including May and Henry, hurts her. she lost the man she loved, all of these people remind her of him for different reasons. And it hurts, which is completely fair and justified. But she's done, and she says, the next invitation I get, I am not saying no. It's just yes. I'm saying yes to all invitations. Cue the music for, damn, I know the movie and it just went right out of my head. Space Odyssey. Yeah. Anyways, she and Hen are going to space. Talk about best friends. We all know that Hen and Athena are best friends. Chimney, what is he arguing about? Though, it's harder. If you're ranking who Hen's best friend is, I think Chimney might be just a hair above Athena, but it is a hair. Alright, guys, thank you so much for joining me in my geekdom as we talk about the Season 9 opener. I do apologize for any background noise. I'm using my headsets. There's construction directly outside of my home. And again, if you've seen my other videos, you know I am not tech savvy. I haven't invested in any editing videos yet for drowning the rest of that out. You're probably hearing a lot from the mic as well, being knocked around, so I do apologize. But I appreciate you sitting through and taking the time to talk about 911 with me. So please leave any comments. Tell me about your feelings. Let's talk about it. Where are you at? Are you one of the protesters? You've given up on 911 because there's no Bobby? Were you debating? You came back to see how this episode was before you leave the show? Or are you tried and true and sticking with it? Thank you again for visiting my geekdom. Check out my other videos. Maybe we have things in common besides just 911. Alright, guys.